Shohei Ohtani not hitting isn't just unusual, it's disruptive to the game plan, to expectations, and most importantly, to how the Dodgers are choosing to manage the most complex player in baseball. Because when you remove Ohtani's bat, you're not just resting a hitter, you're redefining the entire structure of the game. And that decision tells you more about the Dodgers' long term strategy than any stat line ever could. Hours before first pitch against the Mets, the Dodgers made it clear Ohtani would start on the mound, but he would not hit. No designated hitter role, no dual responsibility. Dalton Rushing steps in as DH, the lineup shifts, the rhythm changes. On paper, the explanation is simple. Ohtani took a 94 miles per hour pitch to the upper back earlier in the week. There's an off day coming. This is precaution. That's the surface logic. But decisions like this, especially with a player like Ohtani, are rarely just about one game. They're about managing accumulation, and that's where this becomes far more interesting. The obvious narrative is rest, protect the player, avoid unnecessary strain, keep him fresh for the long season ahead. That makes sense, but it doesn't explain why this is the first time in 5 years he's been deployed this way. Because if rest alone were the priority, we would have seen this model much earlier and much more often. So why now? Because this isn't just about recovery. It's about optimization under constraint. Through his first 2 starts, Ohtani had been perfect on paper. No earned runs, strong command, controlled outings. But underneath, there were signs. Moments where his mechanics weren't fully synced. Sequences where he had to adjust mid-inning instead of dictating from the start. Nothing alarming, but enough to suggest that the two-way workload was already introducing friction, and friction over time becomes inefficiency. Here's the deeper layer. The Dodgers aren't reacting to a problem. They're preempting one. They understand that Ohtani's greatest value isn't just in peak performance, it's in sustained availability. And sustained availability requires intervention before decline. By removing his responsibilities for this start, they're eliminating an entire category of stress. No plate appearances, no base running, no transitions between roles, just pitching. That simplifies everything. Mechanics stabilize faster, recovery windows expand, mental load decreases. And in a sport where outcomes are decided by marginal gains, that simplification matters. But here's the hidden factor most people overlook. This decision doesn't just affect Ohtani, it affects how opponents prepare. When Ohtani hits, pitchers have to navigate his presence in the lineup. They adjust sequencing. They manage pitch counts differently. They plan around him. Remove that and the game shifts. The Mets no longer have to account for Ohtani as a hitter. They can focus entirely on attacking the rest of the lineup. At the same time, Ohtani as a pitcher becomes more dangerous because now there's no residual fatigue from hitting, no split focus, just a pitcher operating in a closed system. That creates an asymmetry. The offense loses a major weapon, but the pitching gains stability. And the question becomes, which side carries more weight in a given game? That's the strategic gamble. The turning point in this entire decision isn't the lineup card. It's the schedule, an off day immediately after. That detail matters more than anything else, because it tells you this isn't an isolated move. It's part of a controlled cycle. Pitch him in a reduced load environment, give him full recovery immediately after, then reintroduce the full two-way workload in the next series. That's intentional pacing, and it suggests the Dodgers are beginning to treat Ohtani less like a novelty and more like a system that needs calibration. That's a major shift. For most of his career, the focus has been on what Ohtani can do. Now the focus is on what he should do and when. That's how elite organizations extend greatness. They don't wait for breakdowns. They manage thresholds. For the Dodgers, this opens up a new dimension. They now have flexibility. They can choose when to deploy Ohtani as a full two-way player and when to isolate one skill for maximum efficiency. That's not just load management. That's tactical deployment. It allows them to tailor his usage based on opponent, schedule, and internal condition. And over a 162-game season, that adaptability becomes a competitive advantage. For Ohtani, this moment is subtle but important because it shows a willingness, either from him or the organization, to temporarily step away from the full two-way identity, not abandon it, but adjust it. And that matters because the biggest risk in his profile has never been performance. It's sustainability. We've seen glimpses of fatigue before, moments where the workload starts to show, not dramatically, but enough to affect timing and execution. This is how you manage that risk, not by reducing ambition, but by structuring it more intelligently. In the end, this wasn't just a lineup change. It was a signal that the Dodgers are no longer just showcasing Ohtani's uniqueness, they're engineering it for long-term impact. And that changes the equation, because the most dangerous version of Shohei Ohtani isn't the one doing everything all the time. It's the one being deployed with precision, where every inning pitched, every at-bat taken, every moment on the field is calculated, not just for immediate results, but for sustained dominance. And on this night, for the first time in years, the Dodgers chose control over spectacle. Not because Ohtani can't do both, but because they understand exactly when he shouldn't. For the first time in 5 years, they took half of him off the field. No bat, no leadoff presence, no two-way chaos, just Shohei Ohtani on the mound. And that decision, it wasn't normal. It was calculated. Hours before first pitch against the New York Mets, the Los Angeles Dodgers made it official. Ohtani would pitch and nothing else. That's the hook. Because this is the player who changed baseball by doing both. Pitch, hit, dominate every night, but not this time. Instead, Dalton Rushing stepped in as the designated hitter, and just like that, the Dodgers rewrote Ohtani's role. So what changed? 2 days earlier, 94 miles per hour to the upper back, a pitch from David Peterson that didn't just hit him, it forced a decision. Because coming into this game, Ohtani was rolling on the mound, 12 innings, this .00 ERA, complete control. At the plate, 5 home runs in 17 games. He was doing everything, and that's exactly the problem. That's where the tension builds. Because the Dodgers aren't just managing performance, they're managing risk. A fully healthy Ohtani, finally. No rehab, no restrictions, no recovery timeline hanging over him, and then one pitch changes the equation. So they pull back. Not fully, just enough. That's the turning point, because this wasn't about what Ohtani can do. It was about what the Dodgers won't let him do. No hitting means no extra strain, no rushing between innings. No split focus, just pitching, pure, isolated, controlled. And that changes everything. For one night, Ohtani becomes something almost unfamiliar, a normal ace. But here's the twist. He's not normal. Even stripped down to one role, he's still one of the most dominant arms in the game. That's what makes this move dangerous. Because now the Dodgers have options. They've seen what he looks like when he's fully unleashed. And now they're seeing what he looks like when he's controlled. And both versions win. That's the impact. Because this opens a door they didn't have before. They can adjust his workload game by game, protect him when needed, maximize him when it matters most. And with an off day coming right after, the timing wasn't random. It was strategic. Everything about this decision points forward, toward October, toward endurance, toward sustainability. Because the goal isn't just dominance now, it's dominance later. One unusual lineup change, one missing bat, one quiet shift in how the most unique player in baseball is being used. Because if the Los Angeles Dodgers are willing to limit Shohei Ohtani this early, then they're not chasing wins. They're protecting something bigger.